Hello you guys, and welcome back to Books by Brit TV. I'm your host Brit, and today I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about one of my favorite authors, V.C. Andrews. I was introduced to her by the same family who introduced me to Where the Heart Is, along with the Harry Potter series. The mother's name was Miss Susan, her son was Jay, and his wife name was Jamie. And I always say that my mom, she planted and watered the seeds for my love of reading, and then Miss Susan and her family, they came and added a new little fertilizer to it, right? So yeah, they introduced me to V.C. Andrews, the Harry Potter series, and it's another book, another series. I cannot think of the author's name right now that I fell in love with because of Miss Susan, Miss Susie, Jay, and Jamie. But yes, they always gifted me books. When they saw that I really enjoyed reading, they gave me books all the time. I didn't mind. One year they bought me a bicycle along with some books. But yeah, they were really awesome people. Excuse me. So yeah. So V.C. Andrews, she does get a lot of flack. I would have to say that she get a lot of flack because she writes about a lot of her works have incestual themes and family secrets and stuff like that, but it's gothic literature, right? But even with that, the period and the geographical area that she writes in, you know, like incest and teen pregnancy and secrets and stuff like that, are very common for the areas that she writes for. So I think people have to keep that in mind whenever they're reading her books. But anywho, the first book that I was introduced Miss V.C. Andrews was Garden of Shadows, which was the prequel to the Dollenganger series. Now, mind you, I had already watched the movie Flowers in the Attic, so I didn't particularly like Olivia Foxworth, right? Or Olivia Garland before she became a Foxworth. But the movie that I watched, I think it came out like in the 80s or the 90s, and I didn't like the grandmother in that movie. But then reading her book, I felt a lot of sympathy for her. But then when I don't know, I felt a lot of sympathy for her, but then it was kind of like, Olivia, you know, you blamed everybody and took revenge against everybody else but the person that you should have took revenge on. You know, you should have kept that stuff between you and Malcolm. You didn't have to make Alicia suffer. Alicia came to you because you was another woman that she wanted to, and she felt like she can confide in you. And then your daughter thought that she could call on to her mother to help her out with her situation. So it's like she made everybody suffer except for Malcolm. Like, Malcolm didn't suffer to me. But anywho, so I read that book initially, and I felt a lot of sympathy for her until the end of the book when I saw how cold she was and saying she was doing everything in the name of the Lord. And when Corinne brought Catherine, Chris, Carrie, and Corey home, and she kept being adamant that they had hidden afflictions and all that kind of stuff. It's like, girl, I know why you acting like that, but girl, just stop. You see those kids are perfect. Quit all that. But anywho, reading V.C. Andrews was when I was introduced to like the rich, the lifestyle of the wealthy or the rich, such as, you know, equestrians. Like, I had never heard of equestrian at all prior to reading her books. And mind you, I was 12 years old reading her books anyway, but I had never heard of equestrian or like ingenue. That I was introduced to French and the ballet and just so many different terms and lifestyles. Like caviar, that was my first time hearing the caviar. Like, I had heard caviar watching Titanic, but I didn't really know about that caviar was something that people ate like that. I thought that was just something that people ate back in the 1912s or 1910s when Titanic came out. I didn't know that was really like a rich a rich staple or a staple of the wealthy, right? And then, you know, I learned about like maids and butlers. And now, mind you, I was born in the 90s, so telegrams was foreign to me, right? Because we had telephones and beepers at the time that I was growing up. And then, you know, a few years later in the 90s, we had the cell phone. So when they were saying they sending telegrams and sending postcards and parcel mail, I was like, wow, I've never known of any of these terms. And mind you, I didn't have access to the internet, so I used to have to get an encyclopedia. And back in the day, families used to keep encyclopedias in their house, but they don't do that anymore. But I used to have to keep an encyclopedia, get an encyclopedia or a dictionary to look up a lot of the things that was talked about in her books, right? like Parcel Mail, I had never heard of Parcel Mail. Then I was like, oh, that's just, I would just consider it mail, but you know, sending it Parcel Mail, it was crazy. Excuse me. But yes, I read not most of her works, but I read quite a few of her works. I have my little laptop up so I can tell you all that I read and tell you what I thought of them and tell you the ones that I haven't read, right? A little bit more about V.C. Andrews. Like in a lot of her novels as well, one of the characters end up being paralyzed, and and I feel like she put that in there because her own experience. Like, I believe in high school she like fell down a flight of stairs or something like that, and she was left like crippled or had to use a wheelchair for most of her life. So she always incorporated that into the story. Now, her most famous works, Flowers in the Attic, she was inspired by one of the nurses or doctors at a hospital that she was being treated at for her back injury, that they told a story of children being hidden in an attic for like 6 years so that they could collect an inheritance. So that was kind of based on a true story, but she never like told who the doctor was or who the family was or anything like that, right? So yes, I learned a lot from Miss V.C. Andrews. So her first series, the first full series that I read was the Dollanganger series. That's Flowers in the Attic, awesome. Petals on the Wind, which is also awesome. If There Be Thorns, Seeds of Yesterday, awesome. Garden of Shadows, awesome. And how she writes is, it's usually 5 books in the series, right? And the first 3 books will be like the main characters, be from the main character's point of view. Then the 4th book will be from like her child or his child, or their cousin, somebody that's very close to her, right? And then the 5th book, which is always the prequel, will be either the mother of the main character from the first 3 novels, or the grandmother, something like that, or great-grandmother. It'll be something to that effect that give you the background of why all these things happen in the main character of the first 3 books in the series, right? So, Flowers in the Attic, like I said, that series is totally awesome. I plan on doing a complete breakdown on that series one of these days. My Sweet Audrina, I read that one. I heard it was written, yeah, that one was written completely by her before she passed away. And it was a standalone novel until recently when they, her ghostwriter wrote Andrew Niderman. And when I say ghostwriter in V.C. Andrews' sense, is that she had manuscript after manuscript of novels that she planned on writing, and her family commissioned this guy named Andrew Niderman to go ahead and write the novel, to finish the novels for her and publish them under her name. But I believe he gets some of the profits from it, right, to finish them up. But yes, My Sweet Audrina was a standalone novel, which was super awesome, and I was very pleased with that novel. And another thing about V.C. Andrews' works is, y'all know I'm always saying that if you're gonna write a sequel to the books, they all need to be able to stand on their own, right? So you can read any of the books within any of the series and not feel shortchanged, right? Which I'm gonna get to if I have time tonight to do another review. You can read all those books in the series without feeling shortchanged. That's the best thing about V.C. Andrews' novel. Like, if you read Flowers in the Attic, but then you go and you read If There Be Thorns, no, you need to read Petals on the Wind so you can understand. You need to read Petals on the Wind just to understand what happened to Catherine. But to Corinne, Catherine's mother. But even still, like, they're all strong enough to stand on their own. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like, dang, you missed so much, because she has so much information in them all, right? The Castile series, which was totally awesome. The Castile series is about Dawn, this girl who's living in like the hills of Kentucky or Virginia or something like that. I believe West Virginia. And come to find out that her pa is not her pa, but her mother was her ma. Oh, no. Yeah, something like that. That her mother wasn't her ma. Her pa wasn't her pa. That her mother died giving birth to her. Her mother was from a wealthy family out in Boston, which was totally awesome. Gates of Paradise. Yeah. So it was Heaven, Dark Angel, Fallen Hearts. And all 3 of those books were by Dawn. And then it talked, Gates of Paradise was about her daughter Annie. And then Web of Dreams was about Dawn's mother. And it talked about why Dawn, Lee, her name was Lee, and why she left home from, oh, y'all, you know, I was saying the wrong names. Heaven. The girl's name was Heaven. Her mother name was Lee. So the Castile series is about this young lady named Heaven, whose mother name is Lee. And Heaven grows up thinking that her pa and her mom is a real family, but it turns out they're not. Her pa and her mother married when her mother was 13 upon her running away from home after being raped by her young stepfather, right? Excuse me. The Cutler series, that's about Dawn, and that series was totally awesome. Even though I will say, I felt like, I don't know if she finished this book. No, let me go to it right now. Andrew Niderman finished this book. He wrote this entire series, and I didn't like Twilight's Child. I'll be honest. Midnight Whispers came back and did some justice to it, but I did not like Twilight's Child. The Landry series, which was my favorite series because it was more so that I could relate to, because it was based in Louisiana. Not that I'm from Louisiana, but because it was based in like the South that I know, not, you know, Virginia, because Virginia is totally different from Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana. I really enjoyed it. The first book that I read in that series was Ruby, right? And then I skipped, well, I didn't skip, but I didn't have access to the other book. So I read Ruby, then I read Hidden Jewel, and then I went back and read the entire series until I came across Tarnished Gold probably 10 years ago when I was like 19. I came across Tarnished Gold and I read it. Now, the worst series that I read of hers so far is the Logan series about Melody and her mother Haley, I believe. I haven't finished that. I read Melody. It was good, and then I read Olivia, but I didn't really like Melody, so I didn't want to finish, you know, Heart Song, Unfinished Symphony, and Music in the Night. So, Her next one that I read, no, this isn't in the order that I read it, but anywho, the Orphan series. When I read it, it was initially one book, and then kind of found out later they were all mini series or mini novels or whatever. But it was about these young ladies, who were standing like, who are adopted out into different homes and their different experiences within those homes. And the story that stood out to me the most was the story of this girl named Butterfly, right? But now, mind you, like I said earlier in the video, like V.C. Andrews loved to talk about like art in her novels, which was awesome for me because I wasn't exposed to it prior to that, right? I wasn't exposed to it in a way that I was reading her books, right? Because we didn't watch ballet growing up in my house until after I read V.C. Andrews. And then it was like, you know, every Christmas we gotta watch The Nutcracker and we gotta watch Giselle, and I watched that up until 2015. I just haven't watched it lately, but yes, that's right. But anywho, Butterfly was the one that stood out to me the most in the Orphan series because Crystal was adopted by this couple. The lady was in a wheelchair. She was paralyzed from a car accident, and she was going to be a prima ballerina, but her career was cut short. So they adopted Crystal because she was tiny, like a dancer, and they wanted Butterfly, excuse me, and they wanted to turn her into to fulfill the mother's career or whatever. And that was a pretty good stories. And the unfortunate thing in the Orphan series that all the young ladies who was adopted, they eventually was returned to a group home, right? And then the Wildflowers, which was the most heavy hitting at the time that I read them. I think I was like 10 or 11 when I read these books as well. And the Wildflowers is about these 4 young ladies who are all in therapy and they're all telling their stories. And you had like one girl whose mother abandoned her and her little brother. That was Jade. Then you had Kathy. Kathy's story stood out the most to me in that one. Kat, her name was Kat, because she was raped by her father, but come to find out, he wasn't even her father. And that her mother was really her sister. Her mother, excuse me, cheated on her husband and got pregnant with her. And what her and her husband decided to do was marry off her daughter and have her daughter take along her baby sister and pass her off as her daughter. That's what happened with that. And then, like, I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't read any of her newer works, like the Secrets and the what was that other one? The Gemini series and the Broken Wing series, the De Beers series. I haven't read any of her more recent works, like stuff that came out in 2002. I don't know. I just haven't got up to reading that type of stuff, right? But the rest of her works was pretty good. But yes, I just want to come on here and talk about VC Andrews a little bit, because I plan on doing a little series about her. But oh yeah, the Reign series, you guys, that was about this young lady. She was living with a black family, but she was mixed, which I say she still was black. But she turns out she was mixed, and like one night her mother died, and that's when she finds out that she was adopted this entire time, and she goes off to find her white relatives, and it goes on from that. I haven't read that complete series. I read Reign, but I never read Lightning Strikes, Eye of the Storm, The End of the Rainbow, or Gathering Clouds. I think they say that, if I recall correctly, they say that it didn't follow the usual format where, you know, the first 3 stories is about the main character, and the 4th story is about, like, you know, her child or whatever child she takes in, and then the 5th is a prequel. I think they said that the entire book is based on, yeah, I think they said that the entire book was based on Reign. It might be wrong, but yeah, I never read anything other than Reign. I don't know, I just thought the rest of the stuff was boring. Then like the Black Cats and stuff like that, and I just didn't want to read none of that stuff. But I do know that she not she, but Andrew Niederman, the man who's been writing for her, he has been writing sequels to the Dollenganger series, like Lost Son, The Diary of Christopher Foxworth, Echoes of Dollenganger. But I'm not really interested in those. I felt like, you know, Caesar yesterday put a nice bow on everything. No, excuse me. Garden of Shadows put a nice bow on the Dollenganger series. And we don't really need, you know, we didn't really need Christopher's Diary. I mean, because I read in the reviews, right, that a lot of people was said that we all knew that Christopher didn't believe in the mom but was saving face for her. So I feel like we didn't really need that. But yes, you guys, I plan on doing more. That road is VC Andrews. I plan on doing a series on the VC Andrews books that I actually enjoy, so that you guys could maybe check them out and enjoy them too. But anyway, you guys, that's all I got. I ain't got no more. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at BooksByBrit. Shoot me an email at booksbybrit@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.